It was a generational win for Texas Tech out in the 806 on Saturday afternoon as the Red Raiders defeated the number 7 BYU Cougars 29-7. In today's video recap, we'll discuss, why Jacob Rodriguez and David Bailey should be Heisman candidates and discuss the Texas Tech offense that, truth be told, I thought left quite a bit on the bone, specifically in the red zone, as well as the latest on Behren Morton and his injury and how he was hobbling up and down the field at Cody Campbell Field there at the Jones, and why the Red Raiders are easily the best team in the Big 12. Let's get to it. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Red and Black Report. Appreciate y'all tuning in to today's video. It's a little late. Me and the missus just got back from the BYU game out in the 806. First thing I did, was of course help her get everything out of the car, and then came in here to make the recap video. If you're excited just like I am about this dominant effort by the Red Raiders on the gridiron, all I'm going to ask you to do is two things. Simply like the video and hit that subscribe button. And before we get into things, two major shout outs, okay? First and foremost, Red Raider Nation, you were unbelievable this entire week. This was a PR masterclass by Texas Tech Athletics. So everyone involved in that, round of applause for you, putting Texas Tech in the spotlight and in a way that showed what makes this university great, which is the people. Okay, so shout out to y'all first and foremost, not only in the athletic department, but the students, alumni, whoever it was, fantastic job. And then second of all, major shout out to a lot of the people that I met that watched this channel out in the 806 this weekend. I met a multitude of you guys, whether it was at the game, whether it was at the local bars there, Chimmy's, Beer House, whatever it is. Appreciate y'all tuning in. This RBR community is something I never thought would get this big, and when the biggest game that Texas Tech has played in a generation, it was on full display. So a sincere thank you from me on that front. All right, enough with the sentimental stuff. Let's get into the nitty gritty. You see it on your screen right there. The Red Raiders absolutely dominated what was thought to be by some the best team in the Big 12 Conference in the BYU Cougars. Absolute joke of a thought, even coming into this matchup, in my opinion, considering what the Red Raiders have done so far this year when Behren Morton has played in the football game. You think about it, the Red Raiders, when Behren Morton plays, are 9-0, okay? They probably won at Arizona State and are still undefeated, but we're playing the what-if games, and damn it, this is not an SEC channel. We don't do the what-ifs here, okay? Behren Morton in this game, I thought looked pretty mid. I'm going to give him a pass on this, though, because there were some plays that the offense, in terms of the skill position players, didn't help him, and he didn't help his offensive skill players in terms of, Coy Aiken dropped a touchdown. I thought Terrence Carter Jr. should have caught that touchdown right before the end of half. Behren Morton had a couple of deep balls that just didn't look like Behren Morton really overall, and a lot of that has to do with what they discussed on the broadcast. And you had Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit talk about it, where there is a hairline fracture in Behren Morton's right leg, and you could see that he was hobbling around very clearly, not only in the broadcast, but it was a major talking point within Jones AT&T as well. But he is a gamer. He gutted it out. And again, I'm going to give him a pass for some of those throws, considering what he's dealing with. I thought Mac Leftwich actually called a pretty damn good game, considering his quarterback was not in the best of health and the best situation. So what do? You go to the run game. And the Red Raider run game absolutely dominated in this one. 36 carries for Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey, and this one close to 200 yards rushing. Cam Dickey with the long of 33. You had Jacoby Williams with the long of 43. Jacoby Williams also helped in the passing game as well as Cam Dickey. 32 receiving yards for Jacoby Williams to get him over the 100 total yards in this one, and then Cam Dickey added to his 121 on the ground with a 24-yard reception in this one. Overall, offensively, my biggest qualm is this, and we're going to talk ad nauseum here about the defense in just a second, but I got to get on the screen. This Texas Tech offense left, in my opinion, 16 points on the board. This should have been a 45-7 blowout. That being said, you have to take into account the injury front with Behren Morton. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, if he's that injured, why is he in the game? He still gives you the best chance to win. You don't have that backup option like you did with Will Hammond, who is now out for the year with his ACL injury, right? No disrespect to Mitch Griffiths, who I think is a serviceable backup, but in these meaningful games, you have to have your best. And Behren Morton is still your best. You just have to be creative and find ways to win football games. And I thought Mac Leftwich did that at a pretty high level. Was he perfect? No. But considering the circumstances, I thought they played pretty solid offensively outside of the fact that the red zone offense is really probably going to be this offense's downfall. They are just not good in the red zone, but that has been a problem really all year. And we just probably haven't talked about it enough here on the channel, if we're being honest about it. That's something we will talk about this week. How do you get better in the red zone? Because I think Texas Tech, full throttle, foot down to the gas pedal in terms of all the way down to the ground when it comes to between the 20s. But once they get in the red zone, it feels like the speed limit is actually a thing. We have to do that. And that's just not how you can operate. If you are one of these potent, high explosive offenses, you have to be explosive no matter what. And I think Texas Tech has to improve in the red zone. And I think that that's my biggest qualm. But again, they probably left 16 points on the board minimum in this matchup. It really felt like Texas Tech won this game by, no joke, 5-6 possessions. It was that dominant. And a large portion of that was due to the defense. Let's get those stats on the screen one more time for you. Jacob Rodriguez. I mean, I'm running out of superlatives and really any way to describe this man in terms of how great he is. I think we need to have a serious conversation in terms of everyone in Red Raider Nation that loves this football program and is a connoisseur, from a historical perspective. I think I could make an argument that Jacob Rodriguez is the best defensive player to ever wear the scarlet and black, okay? He's going to win Big 12 Player of the Year on the defensive side. Remember, he was the preseason pick for the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to win it for the regular season as well. So, I mean, he's living up to the hype. I mean, he's unreal. I've seen multitude of things. I think it was Gambling Gauchos. I want to make sure I'm giving proper credit, so let me know in the comments if I'm off base there. I think it was the Gambling Gauchos that put out the stats that Manti Te'o had as a runner-up for the Heisman, and Jacob Rodriguez is damn near blowing him out of the water in every category, I think, except for interceptions, where Manti Te'o had like 6 interceptions, which is crazy at the linebacker spot. But Jacob Rodriguez now has 2. He's forced a multitude of fumbles on the year, and he clears them in tackles. Jacob Rodriguez, in my opinion, is having easily the best defensive player season that we have ever seen from a Red Raider defender. But I think he's also the best defender to ever wear the scarlet and black because of what he has done over really the past 3 seasons in his time out in the 806. He is unreal and truly is, in my opinion, right now today, the most impactful and best defender in all of college football. And I would love to hear somebody argue with me because I got a ton of facts to back up my argument, and I don't know if they have a lot on their end. You got Romello Height and David Bailey going out there and just being absolute animals. In this one, they just continue to get after the quarterback. And I mentioned in the open, Jacob Rodriguez needs to be in the Heisman race as well. I think David Bailey does as well. I mean, BYU legitimately threw 8 different guys at David Bailey in this matchup, and it didn't seem to matter. He could do whatever he wanted to whenever he wanted to. He had rush lane integrity. He had a bunch of hurries in this game. He leads the country in hurries still after this one. But Romello Height was dominant on the other side, and Lee Hunter and A.J. Holmes Jr. were just sensational in the interior of the defensive line as well. We know that this is where the bread and butter is for this Texas Tech defense and really for this Texas Tech team in general. It's the front 7 of the defense. I thought the Red Raider defense was sensational. They're I mean, I'm at a loss for words, honestly, right now. I mean, they are unreal in person. This was the first time that I have seen them in person this season, and I tweeted it out. This was a spiritual moment, damn near, for me. Watching this defense, it was unreal. It felt like every play, if they wanted to hit Bear Brockmeyer, they were going to hit Bear Brockmeyer, right? Like, it was more of a sense of like Sheil Wood telling them to, hey, you're going to do something else here so we can keep them honest, drop a, edge rusher back into coverage to throw a different look and see if he makes a mistake. And Bear Brockmeyer made plenty of mistakes in this football game. We talked about it ad nauseum leading up to this game, how we were saying that he had not played in an environment like this as a true freshman, and it showed from the jump. BYU was getting torched what felt like from the opening kickoff. I mean, as soon as this became a double-digit game or a two-possession game, it felt like it was over. This was the most boring game that I can remember for a Texas Tech team, in the sense of like boring in a good way, right? You just flat out dominated and just took away the BYU will to succeed. Okay. It felt like BYU was a JV team and you were going up against the 85 Bears defensively. I actually felt bad for Bear Brockmeyer at some points because he was just getting absolutely abused. And that offensive line was doing him no favors. And that's an offensive line that's up there with the Utahs, right? In terms of quote unquote best in the Big 12. Well, the Red Raiders have dominated those two offensive lines pretty handily. One in Salt Lake City in the first game of the Big 12 slate, and now they dominated them out in the 806. I mean, I legitimately felt bad for BYU fans who made the trip. It felt like they kind of wasted their money. That's how quickly this game was over. The energy was unreal in this game. The Texas Tech secondary, I thought, was phenomenal. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to have to go and double check this again, fresh out the car for you guys recording this. I believe that BYU only got within the Texas Tech 35 once, and that's when they scored their touchdown. I mean, this defense was unbelievable. It felt like that national championship game where Alabama didn't let LSU pass midfield all but once. It kind of felt like that. It was just over from the jump. The Red Raiders dominated on the defensive side, put their offense in a position to succeed. They capitalized a lot of times on field goals, but unfortunately stalled out in the red zone. That's something we're going to have to talk about. And honestly, we'll probably talk about that in the good and bad video here later on this week on the channel. But again, the Red Raiders move into first place in the Big 12. Let's go ahead and get those standings on your screen for you right now. 6-1. Texas Tech stands alone right now. They're 9-1, and they control their own destiny. Do the Red Raiders in terms of playing in Arlington. They got UCF as they open up as massive favorites. The last I checked, it was 24.5-point favorites are the Red Raiders when it comes to that matchup against the Knights on Senior Day out in the 806. And then they'll go to Morgantown, a team that's kind of picking up a little bit of momentum, is Rich Rod's squad, as they've run 2 in a row and are 2-5 now in the Big 12 conference, and still in the mix for bowl eligibility if they can win this next week. And then they'll have a shot to be bowl eligible against Texas Tech in the final regular season game. Now, one thing before we get out of here, we'll have a lot more details on it later in the week, but I feel like we have to talk about Behren Morton a little bit. And like I said in the video, I'm trying to give him a pass a little bit because I understand he's playing in a lot of pain right now. Apparently there's a hairline fracture in his leg, and he's just gutting through it because, well, he knows this is his last chance to play in the Scarlet and Black, and he wants to really give his best for this, once-in-a-generation type team so far. Right now, obviously, hopefully this is the new standard for the Red Raiders moving forward, but Fowler mentioned it on the broadcast. Kirk Herbstreit talked about it on the broadcast, So where do you go from here if you're Texas Tech? Do you sit him out against UCF? Do you sit him out against West Virginia? What's the way you go here in terms of ensuring that Behren Morton is healthy enough to make an impact for this Texas Tech offense in really the most important, month, 6 weeks moving forward that Texas Tech has had as a football program in their program's history? I mean, it really is big time. We'll see what Joey McGuire has to say about that at his Monday presser. But again, the big news for Texas Tech, they win 29-7 against the number 7 BYU Cougars in the biggest game out in the LBK since Michael Crabtree caught that football against Texas with 1 second to go. And I'll say this, and I'm being Captain Obvious here. There was a lot less drama in this football game. Texas Tech got up 10, and it felt like it was wraps because this Texas Tech defense is arguably the best defense in the country. Listen, they're in the top 3, and I'm not sure they're 2 or 3, okay? I'm not sure. We'll see what others have to say. Let me know down in the comments, and damn it, keep voting for Jacob Rodriguez and David Bailey to be a part of the Heisman race. They absolutely deserve it, as this Texas Tech defense is easily the best Red Raider defense this program has ever had. All right, I'm RC Maxfield reminding you, as always, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech football all year long. We'll probably have a recruiting video here later on in the week, as it was a massive recruiting weekend out in the 806 for the BYU matchup. What are recruits saying? We'll keep you up to date on that front. But if you want to know about Texas Tech men's basketball, They got a big game against Illinois this coming up week. We'll keep you updated on that front, but this is the place to be. 100% free content for your Red Raiders on the gridiron, the hardwood, high school recruiting portal, anything in between. We've got you covered right here on the RBR. All right, I'm RC Maxfield saying, well, you know what I always say. Stay safe and Recom Tech.